Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
It shows only the black thing. Now
So it is black.
it's black. So I think this is the problem with the edge tool. So I will share only the window. I think we are back to square one. It is sharing only the edge window. Okay, better than. Is it
So
visible?
now, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when I press page down, okay, page down is to go one page at a time. It does not scroll, but if I use the other one, it scrolls. I think what we discussed yesterday is this one, right? Until where did we discuss? This is the expression we ended with. Okay, so the context is we were looking at, I think let me open one more copy of this in the same. Do you open a copy of it? Copy. Paste. Okay. Oh, what does it say? Something? Pick up where you left. Don't want that. This one is scrolling. Maybe this is better. Sorry. Okay. So this is where this is the top we were considering. So this is pivoted at O. It is a flat disk. The disk concentration is mostly at an height of, I should not say yes, at a distance of L from the pivot point along the shaft direction. So the center of mass is mostly located at that S location, which is at a distance of L from the pivot point. So you have the inertial coordinate system X, Y, Z, and then the shaft is forced to rotate with an angular velocity omega. Since it is tilted by some angle, there is an torque on the rotating top here. This torque is basically L cross mg. So the mg is acting in the minus z direction. Xy is the horizontal plane you can imagine in your mind. The angular momentum vector is along the figure axis, which is theta 3 times omega. So we analyzed this system and derived this expression, which says that the torque what you are applying on the system is D, which is what we are externally applying. So because of that, you notice that there is an additional rotating moment called WP. That is WP cross L equals to D. So the L quantity is theta 3 times omega, D is L cross mg, and then together, if you apply a torque on the rotating system, it causes this precession moment omega p. So what is the direction of this omega p? It is actually rotating around this z axis. Omega p is rotating around the z axis. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that means if you try to the d axis, let us see what is this d axis. D axis is L cross omega. I should say L cross mg, sorry. L cross mg. L cross mg, you have to imagine a plane which is passing through Z and the shaft axis. So the perpendicular to that plane is your D. So let us go to that figure where these axes are shown. So this is what is shown. So then what you have is omega p cross L. L is in the direction of omega itself. Omega p cross L is equal to D. So this means that the precession axis is along the Z axis. So I do not know how you will be able to imagine this. So try to convince yourself. This is the expression we have. Omega p we have already derived now. The modulus of omega p is given by m cross modulus of g cross L divided by L. From these expressions only we got this expression. Let us look at the omega p is nothing but d alpha by dt. That is, what is the rate of change of angle? And then for the rate of change of angle, I have to look at this figure here. What is the rate of change of angle L, delta L? So delta LR is the change in the angular momentum. So because of that, there is a change in the angle alpha. We had already also derived that along the Z direction, the angular momentum is conserved. Along the Z direction, angular momentum is conserved. That means the rotation effect is alpha is only around the Z axis, which is nothing but the omega p direction. So finally, the gyroscopic principle, what people discuss is basically this particular expression. The statement here is, if you have a spinning top and if you try to force it, if you apply a torque on the spinning top, then there will be a precession effect in the orthogonal direction. So this is the conclusion here. If you have questions, we can discuss here. I will just pause here so that you assimilate what we have discussed.
Yes, sir, it is fine.
Okay, very good. So let us move ahead. The nutation motion, what we discussed before this, are going to be superimposed on this precession. So what we saw now is the precession effect. These terminologies will slightly confuse you. So in this particular case, the precession is the movement of the angular momentum vector is moving around some inertial axis Z. So in the case of precession effect, the nutation effect, what we noticed was the L vector, if you express that solution of the free top, if you expand it, in the expansion you notice that there is a term called K. Both the angular velocity and the angular momentum vector has this additional quantity called K. So which is something theta 3 minus theta 1 divided by theta 1 or something like that, multiplied by omega 3 and things like that. So that quantity is a frequency. So that is sine of kt minus cos of kt, something like that. Those kinds of expression occurred in the final solution. So that quantity gives rise to one more oscillation. So this one has given rise to the omega p oscillation. So what you observe actually is a combination of both of these things in the actual system. So the nutation motions are superimposed on the precession. So the tip of the figure axis is now moving in a complicated trajectory around the inertial Z axis, but not on a circle. So what we indicated earlier, it appeared like L was moving around the inertial axis in the form of circle. But in addition to that, the L axis is also doing a small wobbling additional motion. So this wobbling motion, that sign of kt and other things, will vary between two angles. So whatever angle we assumed here was the shaft axis was making an angle of V with respect to the inertial Z axis. So there is a plus or minus delta V with respect to this angle V due to this additional nutational motion. So if the D was 0, then there will be only this nutational motion. That is the figure axis about the invariable straight line. So if D is not equal to 0, there is a precession of L axis about the inertial Z axis. Usually this precession dots and nutation is superimposed on this precession. So you can imagine this to be something like a complementary solution and then the particular solution. So this is how the final image you should have in mind. There is this L axis which is trying to move around the inertial Z axis, and then the figure axis is also revolving around the L axis. So that was the expression we wrote as solution for the free top. So the combined motion is what we usually observe. Any questions until now?
That's it.
Okay, let us move ahead. So let us look at some of the remarks. Since our case is special, the angular momentum, angular velocity, and the figure axis usually always all coincide. So we have this L equals to theta 3 omega. Theta 3 is moment of inertia about the figure axis. So in that particular case, the torque is given by D equals to L dot, which is theta 3 times d by dt of omega. And then we have expanded this d by dt of omega as omega p cross omega plus omega dot relative. So omega dot relative is something is there. Since there is a precession motion, so we have taken this additional cross product for the derivative. We are trying to compute what is this number now. That is why. So this there is no angular acceleration, so we are going to keep that as 0. Whenever you take a derivative, you have to of a vector, you have to see whether that vector is also rotating around something else. That's what we saw here. So this was the. Let us come back to this figure. What I showed here. Yeah, here. So here you will notice that the omega axis is along the L axis, and this omega is revolving around with a frequency of omega p. Therefore, we have to consider this omega p cross omega for the derivative quantity. That is the. And in addition to that, we notice that omega p cross L is given by D. That is what we had recently derived. So that in addition there, and then the D vector is what we had just computed now, which is theta 3 omega p cross omega. So D is the torque performed on the top by the gravity. Gravity causes that expression also we know. We could also substitute that. Recall the torque on the top by the gravity is given by this expression just now, which we computed. So let us take the negative of that. So negative of that is what you can apply if you want. So sorry, that is what is coming out as the measurement. Suppose if you force someone to precess, see what is input, what is output is what we are discussing. If you look at this expression omega p cross D, if someone forces the torque D on the system, then you will observe that there is a precession moment. But if you precess the top from the beginning itself, then you will observe that torque as this expression. So which is input, which is output is how you interpret this system. So in this particular expression, if you think D as the input, then omega p is the effect. Or if you precess the rotating top itself, then D can be thought of the output. thought of as the output, and that is precisely what we see in the gyroscopes and other things. So there is a precession effect which you apply. For instance, if you have a rotating top on the surface of the earth, since the earth is rotating, then with respect to the angular velocity of the earth, you are precessing already. And then if you had kept a torque measuring system orthogonal to these two axes, you will notice that you will sense a torque there. So that is the part we are discussing here. So if the torque on the top is due to the gravity is given by this expression, the minus of that expression is this quantity theta 3 times okay, the cross product you have reversed it, that's all. So d dash is the torque performed by the top, it is the reverse thing now, on its bearing when it is forced to precess with an angular velocity omega p. So we will you be using this term to do some measurements called gyrocompassing. We will see. I think, have we discussed gyrocompass already? So this is also called as the top moment or the deviation moment. It is the exactly the reverse of what we are saying now. Initially we were saying if there is a torque on the system, you notice precession. If you force the object to precess, then this is the torque you will be sensing. So this is also called as the top moment. So deviation resistance or top moment is very large for quickly rotating top and sudden change of the rotation axis. So these are some of the examples which I had already mentioned. If you try to turn a quickly rotating flywheel such as table fan or bicycle, don't try this, okay? It's risky, especially with a motor or something in your hand. It may fall on your leg also, but you have to carefully imagine doing this. The top moment observed from the reference system rotating with angular velocity omega p is identical with the moment of the Coriolis force. So this you have to just think why it is true.
So here we are saying that this is the internal force applied, no sir?
Pardon me, it is?
It is internal to the system. It's not some external torque. It is internal torque which is due to the precision of the.
Right. So if you forcibly precess something, the torque will be felt in the orthogonal direction. Omega p cross L. So you imagine you have a rotating system and then you add additional rotation to that. Not in the same axis, but with some other axis, you try to rotate around that axis. You will see there is a torque felt on the axis orthogonal to this L cross omega p. You will see a torque.
Okay,
so,
sir.
The way to imagine is you imagine you have a rotating system on the earth. You have a very high speed rotating object perpendicular to the horizon. There is an axis along which you are rotating something. But this rotation system is also rotating around the Earth's axis because Earth is rotating. Is that right? So then
Yes,
you
sir.
see something happening. So that is the principle used in the gyrocompass, which probably we will be discussing shortly. Yes. Okay, so let us take one more. Any more questions? We are taking some examples, and later on we will discuss what to do. Should we do inertial navigation or stop it here? That part we will discuss later on. Or I can give them as study thing also. We will discuss anyway. Or if you feel syllabus is already more, then some other decision we will take. Any questions here?
No, sir.
Okay, so let us,
No, sir.
so whatever we do now, okay, thank you. So what we will do now is, let us compute the precession effect. Why is the Earth's axis precessing? So we notice that in the heavy top, the precession occurs due to the additional torque. That is, someone is trying to pull the torque, axis of rotation in a particular direction. So for the Earth, something similar is happening, because of which there is this precession effect, and the precession effect is basically causing the pole axis to be changing periodically, and that period is around 26,000 years or so. So the nutational period, which is at a higher frequency, around 403 days, is what we have already computed, where you notice that the L axis or the omega axis is wobbling around the figure axis, or vice versa. Okay, so we will see why this is happening. We are making certain assumptions now. It is going to have, this is happening basically due to the attraction of the sun and the moon. You have to imagine Earth is a spinning top with the axes are free, but it is not free of forces. Additional forces are there. How to look at these forces, we will see. This occurs due to flattening of the equator. At the equator, there is a flattening effect, because of which there is some variation in the masses. We will look at it shortly now. And then there is a tilted ecliptic. It is not actually exactly spinning perpendicular to the ecliptic plane. The Earth itself is already tilted. So we had already noticed in the heavy top, when there is a tilt, something is happening. So the attraction of the moon and the sun are going to generate this additional torque D in the system. So Earth can be thought of as an ideal sphere with bulge at the equator. That is for the analysis, whatever we are going to do now. So this is the figure you can imagine in your mind. On the left-hand side is your sun. This perfect sphere is shown in the center. The ecliptic plane is your this line with an arrow, which is showing the direction of the sun. So you have to imagine you are looking at the Earth with respect to this plane. We have just cut it into a section here. So what we have exactly done is, suppose Earth was tilted in the way it is shown here. So from the North Pole to South Pole, if you cut it with a plane, then you have two parts, hemispheres you can divide. One S1 and the other one is S2. S1 basically indicates the center of mass with respect to the left hemisphere, and whatever that left means, okay, to the left of North Pole, South Pole axis, and then S2 is to the right of North Pole, South Pole axis. So what effectively we have here is, towards the sun there is this K, and then the S2 is towards the opposite side of the sun. I will just pause here, just think about this for some time. So you have to imagine there is a tilted Earth, and then you are observing the motion of this system from the horizon plane. Sorry, not the horizon plane, ecliptic plane. The ecliptic plane is indicated by this left to right long straight line, which indicates the direction of the sun. So above the direction of the sun, there is an arrow. That line, the x-axis, you can imagine to be the ecliptic planes. Just one line we are showing. So basically we are looking at the system from this angle. And on the left-hand side, there is the sun, and towards the sun and away from the sun, we have divided the Earth into two parts from the North Pole to South Pole, whose tilt is indicated by 23.5 degrees with respect to the orthogonal line to the ecliptic plane. Is this picture clear?
Yes, sir.
You can ask questions on this if you. Okay. At the center of mass of the Earth, the attraction due to the sun is balanced by the centrifugal force, because the Earth is also rotating around it. Therefore, it is not completely coming out of the orbit. So we have divided this bulge into two halves from North Pole to South Pole. One is towards the sun and one is away from the sun. S1 is the center of mass of the bulge, which is near towards the sun, and the other one, S2, is the center of mass of the bulge away from the sun. So this is the main thing. Attraction of sun on S1 is larger than on S2 because S1 is nearer to the sun. We know that what is the law governing the law of gravitational attraction? Is it square law or what law?
Inverse square law.
Inverse square law. So therefore, if the masses are near the sun, it will have a larger attraction. So that is how we think of this here. So therefore, the centrifugal force on S1 is less on S2 in addition to this. Why is this? Because it is near. How do you measure the centrifugal force? Angular velocity?
Inverse with R.
Suppose if you are rotating around something, how do you measure the centrifugal force? What is it? Is it directly related to R or inversely related to R? If you are nearby, basically you imagine two objects moving with same angular velocity around the sun. So the near one will have lesser.
Directly proportional to R.
So near one will have lesser and farther one will have
More.
centrifugal force. So what does it mean? It means that S1 is attracted more and S1 is repulsed less. So you can see this opposite effects, and S2 part is attracted less and repelled more. That means this effect comes into picture, that there is a net pulling towards the sun of S1 and net pulling away from sun for the S2 part. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So once this happens, so there is a net force K towards the sun and then similarly away from the sun. Because of this inclination of this ecliptic, these forces K and minus K will give rise to the couple effect. So that means there is a torque in which direction? In the axis perpendicular to the, or in the axis perpendicular to the plane of what we are saying. So either towards us or away from us, there is a torque in the axis along that. So this couple tries to turn the Earth's axis towards the axis perpendicular to the Earth orbit radius. So let us look at this. So how does it rotate? So the North Pole is trying to. So can you tell the direction of this torque now? Is it towards you or away from you? Because the torque axis is actually perpendicular to the plane of system, what we are saying, this laptop plane. Torque axis is perpendicular to the laptop plane. So is it towards you or away from you? Yes.
Towards us.
Towards us. Excellent. So that is your D vector. So the couple lies in the orbital plane. It lies in the orbital plane. It points away from the paper towards us. So what you have is, you have the torque effect and you have the L. So omega P cross L equals to D. So therefore the omega P exists now because D is not 0. So similarly, you can look at the effect of moon also. Moon acts more strongly than sun because of its smaller distance. So this turns out to be, finally people have computed this, and approximately 26,000 to 28,000 years. So the axis of Earth, we have not completely computed it. I have just indicated it, these numbers, that's all. So then this angle 23.5 degree is your V angle, what we saw earlier. So in addition to this, the nutations are superimposed, which we already computed, which is something theta 3 or theta 1 divided by theta 1 minus theta 2, something like that, that expression. So these nutations are superimposed on this precession. So this is the complicated motion what we observe. So we are not, see, I have not solved anything here. I just indicated how this how one can understand it in a schematic. Intuitively, sorry. Any questions? We have only one last application now, which is the gyro compass.
No question.
So shall we discuss what to do? Gyro compass, I will do it in the next class probably. Then we can discuss what we have to do. I have actually that inertial navigation we have missed out because I think too many classes were missed during the exams. So overall, how many classes have we taken now? Probably 35 or something, right? 30th. 40. Okay. We have not missed many. I think only that initially few hours we lost because of bad connections and things like that. Okay, so what should we do? Do you think the syllabus is more or less or okay? Inertial navigation is missing, no? From all this.
So this is the last topic.
No, we are proposing what should we do? Should we also complete the inertial navigation or we should stop here? That is the discussion we are having now. If I ask you, you will always say stop. I'm hoping that there will be someone who may not want to stop. You can openly say, I'm not evaluating you, don't worry.
Sir, how many classes would be required, sir, for inertial?
Actually, that requires at least 10 classes. That's why it's too much. When is your exam starting?
Sir, 8th of December.
Oh, I think then we should not have, leave it. Hardly any class. I will not torture you with the end.
Sir, like without going into like numerical, like if you can tell about the theory.
Only one block diagram I will present. Is that okay? Or
Yes, sir. Can give an overview in some
yeah,
short, brief overview.
okay. One complete full block diagram I will show, which contains all these things. So, are there any places we should have reduced the stress in this particle motion and rigid body? In your opinion, okay? I'm just taking.
Sir, maybe that torque moment of inertia, we already knew that, so that could not have been taught either.
Okay, that first part where we defined the concepts.
Yes, sir, that basics of dynamics like moment of inertia, torque, angular momentum, all those things.
Mm-hmm. So up to, probably I should have started directly from tensor of inertia then.
Yes, sir. You could have started from that eigenvalue equations, all those you were telling.
Okay. That is
So
what-
those of us who don't remember stuff from 4 or 5 years back,
Hmm.
but as it was very helpful, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, it was actually helpful for setting the context for like notations and everything.
Yes. That is also true. And that is the intention with which I did. But yeah, probably some people who already remember will have would have felt it as a boring thing. True. Anything? Yeah, I'm just taking your feedback. So we will not do that. Okay, so I will try to directly give probably one block diagram and then stop it. So next class we will be discussing about the gyro compass. So let me see what are the. See, when is your exam? When did you say?
8th of December, sir. 8th of December, sir.
8th is too early, no?
Yes, sir.
Maybe tomorrow, if you give a class, I will finish it. What do you say? Oh, today we have a time, right? In the afternoon, we can finish it.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
So tomorrow afternoon maybe.
Tomorrow afternoon we can take. I don't. Yeah, but our lab is there, no? Then we will finish it. I don't want to drag it up to the end. Okay. So today you are not free, right?
No, sir. Okay.
Okay, then. We will stop the class and meet next time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.